What cheer, y'all? Welcome back to Right at the Wire. We just concluded a weekend of Derby prep, so it's time to update our Kentucky Derby 151 top 20 list as of March 23rd, this Sunday. So here are the point leaders, the top 20 of them so far, and I've drawn a line under built because I think those are the 13 that, should they want to run, are in the race. Now, whether they all run, particularly horses like Getaway Car or, the Final Gambit, who's more of a turf horse, a Flying Mohawk, I don't know. But, they're all in if they want to be. And so we basically leaves about 7, maybe 8 spots firmly left. And with a couple of big 100-point races coming up, I think we'll pretty much have the field after next weekend. So we'll look at them from 5 at a time, as we do from 20 on up, and you'll see the 2 Jeff Ruby horses, Final Gambit, the winner, and Flying Mohawk, I've put 19 and 20. Final Gambit just came from the clouds. Whether or not he can do that on dirt remains to be seen, but I thought it was a really solid effort and very impressive win. He drew off very nicely. We thought he might run well. I'm not sure I thought he could run that well. And particularly, we don't know if he can run on dirt yet, but that might be giving yourself an awful lot to do if you try to come way from the clouds like that. Flying Mohawk, we thought would run a good race, and he did. But this, again, is another horse who's probably more attuned to the turf, but he can run in the Derby if he wants to. We'll just see. Captain Cook, again, won a paceless race in the Withers, really, and it didn't beat a whole lot. I want to see him do it against better, but he is kind of intriguing because he does run from the front end. I wonder about his pedigree around for a mile and a quarter, but Dick Dutro's, master trainer, you can never underestimate. American Promise won the Virginia Derby around one turn, but he did so pretty impressively. Something to remember about him that I had overlooked or I hadn't really considered deeply. He's a May 3-year-old. In fact, I don't think he's even going to be 3 years old when the Derby is run. So there's certainly a lot more growth possible with this one. And considering what he's done so far, maybe he's catching up. Just something to think about. I think this one still has a lot of work to do. He did what he was supposed to in a very weak Virginia Derby. And it's the coach, they are hit or miss. But I'm kind of thinking this one maybe has a little more bottom than initially I thought, mainly because he's got some room to grow. So we'll keep an eye on American Promise. John Hancock, I didn't think ran badly in the Louisiana Derby. I really didn't, but it was his third start, and he was facing a lot more pace pressure than he faced in the Sam F. Davis. He had a cakewalk in the Sam F. Davis, so logically he had more left in the tank to battle Owen Almighty. I think this horse has quality. I don't want to say he doesn't. I thought he kept on well, but you do have to wonder if maybe the distance is a little much for him. That was one of the reasons I soured on him for the Louisiana Derby, looking at his pedigree, not a lot of stamina on the dam side. He's a horse with quality. I'm really skeptical about him for the Derby. So next hour, 11 to 15, Hill Road. He ran a decent Tampa Bay Derby to debut at 3. Want to see what he does on a track that's not quite so speed favoring, and it being the second in his training cycle for Chad Brown. I think better is expected, or it should be, and that should set him up for a peak effort in the Derby if he can get in. And that's really the issue, is that being a late runner, he's kind of up against it, and he's going to have to probably finish at least second in whatever next race he runs in order to get in. So he'll need a little bit of help. But Hill Road, to me, I think is a more intriguing prospect than Chance McPatrick, and I've said that all along. So I'll be keeping a close eye on him. Built has to drop because he's a nice horse. We know what he is. I've said that all along. Brings it every single time. But now I'm starting to wonder if it's not so much the class of the race, it's the distance. Because he's really not finishing as these races are getting longer. And he's a nice horse, but I think we've probably seen the best of Built. I don't see where he's going to all of a sudden do a lot better in a race when he's stretching out again for the Kentucky Derby. River Thames, really have questions about him around 2 turns. At Gulfstream, sure, you can do it, but this is a really nice horse. I'd much rather see him in the Pat Day Mile. Chunk of Gold, I think, showed in the Louisiana Derby that the Risen Star was not a fluke. This is a good horse. This is a horse who's getting better. How much he progressed from the Risen Star to the Louisiana Derby, not sure, but I did like the fact that he kept on well in the stretch. It wasn't good enough. He wasn't fast enough, but he looks like he's on his way. So let's see what he does with one more start. What a great story. $2,500 purchase, and he's in the Kentucky Derby. That's pretty awesome. So, yeah, hard not to root for a horse like Chunk of Gold. Manicat Road is going to run on the Florida Derby. That's a speed favoring track. It should be right up his alley. Want to see if he doesn't. I haven't looked at the race. I'll say that right off the bat. So I have to dive deeper into it. But he may have the same type of situation that Getaway Car did in the Virginia Derby. The Rebel Stakes, Manicat Road ran pretty big, and now he's going to have to follow it up with another big effort. I think he's on a track that's more favorable to him in that respect. Bout Baffert doesn't send horses to Florida that often, so that's a rather interesting place for Manicat Road to end up. I think he's going to have to marshal his speed a lot more conservatively if he has any chance to be competitive in the Derby. And there's some little bit of question mark as to whether 1.25 miles is what he wants. But let's see how he does in the Florida Derby. Really, he's number 11 because he didn't run this last weekend. And honestly, it's still, even with the 100-point races, what have you got? You got the top 3 and everybody else. So you can kind of mix and match from post 4 to 20 in a lot of respects. So now we come to our top 10, and you see Owen Almighty, I'm not going to move. I think he's been a quality horse all year. He brings it every time. I don't think he can get the 1.25 miles for the Derby. I think the Pat Day Mile makes more sense to me, but his owners may decide otherwise. He's a really nice horse. He could even get into the exotics because of the class he brings, but I don't think he can win. So kind of a ceremonial, he stays at 10. I'm not going to knock him for what John Hancock did in the Louisiana Derby. I think, he should just stay right where he is. Chance of McPatrick is kind of, I'm not a fan of this horse, I'll be honest, but based upon his 2-year-old record and the fact that he came back and got a decent second in the Tampa Derby, although he didn't have any excuses. And except for the fact that Chad Brown trains him, and we know he doesn't bring him back all the way. Witness what happened to Sierra Leone yesterday. We did have called to touch upon a star. I was very happy about that. However, that's another subject. So this horse, just the 1-turn closer, now moving to 2. I just got a feeling that Tampa Bay Derby, we're going to get more of the same in his next start. Just my feeling on it, but I may be wrong. He's there more for his 2-year-old record, and there's no other reason. He hasn't run enough for me to drop him yet. Tistastic goes up to number 8 because he won the Louisiana Derby. Did he beat a whole lot? I'm not so sure. Did he take a step forward that makes him a major player in the Derby? I don't think so. I think he just kept running, and he finally got free. And didn't have any impediments, any traffic issues or whatnot. They got him to the outside. But really, I think more than anything else, he just outlasted that field. And it wasn't a great field. Is he a threat to get into the exotics in the Derby? Absolutely. He can run all day. So he is a horse I would never leave off my try or my super. Does it make him now a win candidate? No, not to me. But he does move up because he did win the Louisiana Derby. Sandman, we know the deal on him. We'll see if I haven't looked at the Arkansas Derby yet. I'll assume he's running in it. We'll see what he can do. It's all between the years. He's got to be more forwardly placed to have a chance. He has run that way in the past. I did go back. I was looking at one of his prior races, and he has been able to get closer to the pace. So if he can get back to that, that certainly makes him a much more attractive candidate for the Derby. But right now, he's Silky Sullivan, or not even that. I mean, because he doesn't win. He's a horse that's fun to root for. A closer always is, but bottom of the try of the Super is to the extent of it right now. Burnham Square, I was high on this horse. I'm not quite as high as I have been because, Ian Wilkes has said this horse likes to run all day. That kind of keeps me rooting for him and keeps me being high on him. And I didn't think he ran a bad Fountain of Youth. I thought it was a jockey's error to put him at the back and think he could circle the field like that. I really do. But he's going to need to get faster. And he did get a career high in the Fountain of Youth, but he needs another jump. That's for sure. But I do like this horse. I just wonder if he's kind of the Florida version of Built at this point. So we come to our top 5. No changes. Barnes, again, repeat. If journalism isn't in the San Felipe, he wins that handily. Does he really want a mile and a quarter? I'm not so sure. But he's got a lot of class, a lot of quality, and he's got a first-class trainer working with him. They're going to get the most out of him. Whether or not it's enough to win the Derby remains to be seen. Cold Battle is a hard knocker. You got to love this horse. He's made a believer out of me. It's a great story with Lonnie Briley having a horse like this at his age. But I wonder what's going to happen when the rubber meets the road and he starts facing really deep fields, whether or not he can continue to progress. He needs to. He needs to get faster. He's competitive. He brings it every time. He's a fun horse to watch. I love him. But I do wonder if when he gets into a more, at some point he may have reached the ceiling with the Rebel Stakes. We'll see what he does this weekend. Citizen Bull is looking pretty damn good now, isn't he? When you've seen what's happened with Getaway Car, you've seen Barnes was handled by journalism, and, Rodriguez seems to be sputtering, and we'll see what Matticat Road does this weekend. But, hey, Citizen Bull's looking pretty good. Can he run outside of California? That's the big question mark. And can he run against a top-quality field? Let's go back and remember, that Breeders' Cup Juvenile really hasn't come back very good. And there weren't a lot of horses in there who really want 2 turns either. So keep that in mind. But he hasn't done anything wrong. We'll see what he does in his next start. And Citizen Bull, look at we're going to look at the horses who are in the Derby right now. And you may be a little more positive about Citizen Bull after you see what the complexion of the field looks like right now. Number 2, Sovereignty. He's not going to, I guess, I don't see him on the list very quickly for the Florida Derby, so I suppose he'll be in the Bluegrass. If he can build off what he did in the Fountain of Youth, look out. He's trained by Bill Mott. We know on Derby Day, Sovereignty will run at his optimum best. Is it good enough? I think it is. I really like this horse a lot. And while he did come from, came from the clouds in the Fountain of Youth, I think he can be closer than that. And it's a scary thought. He's definitely one of the top 2, and I really like him. I want to see Bill Mott get a Kentucky Derby, a legitimate Kentucky Derby. Yes, I know he won with Country House, but I bet he doesn't even consider that a win because it was through DQ of Maximum Security. Anyway, I like Sovereignty. Journalism's certainly still number 1. I brought it up last week, and I think it bears repeating. What does Mike McCarthy do with him now? You run that big off the bench, there's only one way to go, right? If he can build off that and progress even further, it's scary. Nobody's going to beat him. He's going to win the Derby by open length. But I'm not so sure. And I just wonder how, to me, Mike McCarthy has a really delightful dilemma in how to manage this horse to the Kentucky Derby after running such a big effort. Mike McCarthy's a really nice trainer, and I'm sure, I'm sure he'll do the right thing by the horse without a doubt. It's just kind of a curiosity I have, and I think it is going to make, it could make for an interesting, he may not be a lock cinch for the Derby just because of that. So just a little thing to keep in mind, but he's number 1 right now. That should be March 23rd. Sorry, I haven't updated it. So there's our top 20 for Sunday, March 23rd. As you can see, the full one, and getaway car came off the list. I think we all know why. He is in the Derby. Whether or not he's going to run, I don't know. But that was pretty pitiful in the Virginia Derby. So we'll just see about that. So we go and look at our race shape, and here's what I was talking about. Now, we don't know if getaway car is going to run or not. And I would, the ownership group that owns him, I have a feeling they may throw him in, get as many as they can, but it wasn't a very good sign in the Virginia Derby of what he can do, that's for sure. So you look at those front runners, you got American Promise in there. I think Citizen Bull can handle him. I think he can handle Getaway Car. And then you've got the pace pressers, none of which, can we say is a lock cinch to get a mile and a quarter. Maybe Chunk of Gold is the closest. Flood Zone is going to be in Dubai, so God knows what happens with him. So it does provide a very interesting scenario because Citizen Bull gets off to a soft lead, gains a little confidence. He's a nice horse. He might be awful tough to run down. Something to think about at the outset. Long way to go before we get there. But you see, we've added mostly runners coming from off the pace. Tistastic, we know what he does, and Final Gambit and Flying Mohawk, I think, are pretty good bets to be way at the back. And I couldn't see either of them winning the Derby. I just don't, because there seem to be more turf horses. So it's an interesting 13 or 12, depending on what they do with Getaway Car, or could be 11 if Owen Almighty doesn't run, or Flood Zone, could be 10. But that's what we've got right now. Those are the ones, if they want to run, they're in. And that's the important thing. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this helps you with your own formulation of a top 10, top 20 list, however you're doing it. And let me know what you think. I always love to hear the comments. You guys have been great with input lately. And it's all been, for the most part, positive, which I appreciate. And I want to thank you for that. I like to have a community that talks to itself. Dialogue is a good thing for me and for all of us as we make our way toward the Kentucky Derby. Certainly, if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who recently come on board. We've had a nice little surge. And again, I want to thank you for that, as well as everybody who's been along for the ride since we started. So thanks again to all of you. Got a big weekend coming up with the Florida and Arkansas Derby, so we will have postings, individual postings for those, as well as the corresponding Oaks preps at Gulfstream and Oaklawn. We'll do a sequence. Whether it's Gulfstream or Oaklawn remains to be seen. If you guys have a preference, please let me know. And then for that track, we'll do the full card selections, best bets, and value plays as well. We'll see which one you guys want to do, and if I get enough feedback, that's what we'll go with, the one you guys want. But we'll probably default to Gulfstream is my initial thought on that. So anyway, that's it from here. Be on the lookout for more content coming up this week. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.